Hello students and welcome to the last module of MCOM 101. This is module number 3 and this is about electronic media. We have already covered some of the topics of this module in our live sessions, but this specific video that I am making, this is going to be about the production formats that we see on television, because this is the topic that will have some new concepts for you and I want you to go back and revise these concepts, check the slides and check the video as well, so that you can remember these things for a longer period of time. So without further ado, let me share my screen and we get started with this topic, which is about production techniques or production formats in television. When we talk about the production formats that are there in television, so we see that there are some shows which are live, then there are some shows which are recorded, and then there are other terminologies which are used to signify the kind of programs that you will see on television in terms of production. So in this topic, we will be discussing these different terminologies. The ones that I have chosen to discuss in this course are live to tape, and recorded. So these three terminologies. Then we will discuss the difference between studio and outdoor broadcasting. So the shows that you essentially see that are shoot on studio versus the shows or programs that are shoot on outdoor. So outdoor broadcasting and studio broadcasting, these are two different concepts that we will cover. And we'll also touch upon the single camera and multi-camera productions towards the end, though that is a very vast topic, so to say, and you are going to cover it in later courses, but I'll just touch upon it briefly. So let us explore the TV formats and important terminologies as far as production is concerned. So the first type that we are going to discuss is live shows or live programs. Live is what it looks like, something which is live. Whatever is happening, you are going to see that on your screen as and when it happens. So these are the programs where everything goes on here in real time. These are the programs where you cannot go back and edit anything for that matter. Whatever is happening is being shown on your television screens live. So this is live broadcasting, where the event which is happening at any place in the world, that will be captured and that will be shown on your television screen live. There is no delay as such, other than the 1-2 seconds delay that happens due to the satellite transmission process. Otherwise, it's totally live. Most of the sporting events that you see, cricket matches or football matches, or all the sporting events, they are always live. So you will know exactly that what is the score right now. They are never recorded. You can see the highlights later, those are recorded, but those events are live. Most of the news programs are also live. The news bulletins that you see on television, most part of those are basically live, specifically in situations when there is a breaking news. So in the situation of a breaking news, what you see on television is mostly going on here live. Or say if there is a session of a parliament going on, that will be aired live on your television screen. A lot of events other than sports events are also shown live. For example, awards, different award ceremonies, Oscars or Grammys or whatever you name it, and most of the award shows are shown live on the television screen. So these are the shows that essentially all of us see, and we would want to know what has happened, like just at that very moment. So that is the reason why they are presented live. So if you see television, and if you are a regular viewer of television, you will realize that a huge percentage of programming on television would consist of live shows. Specifically, if it's a sports channel, so they would air most of the tournaments live. If it's a news channel, then most of the programs, the news-based programs, are going to be live. Now, the second terminology that we are going to discuss is something which sounds like live and which looks exactly as if it is live, but in reality, it is not. So these are live to tape shows or live to tape segments, which in the news industry we also call as live. So what are these as live or live to tape shows are, they basically looks just like a live transmission, but they are pre-recorded. And pre-recorded doesn't mean that they are pre-recorded months in advance, but they might be pre-recorded just a few minutes in advance, or maybe in some situation maybe an hour or 2 hours in advance, but not more than that, as far as we are talking about the news industry here. Live to tape shows or live to tape programs have this room to make some small edits if there are any kinds of mistakes while doing the show. So small edits can be made in that show. And most of the current affairs shows that you will see on television, specifically the one where like the ones that you see on our news channels at 8 p.m. and sometimes at 10 p.m. and all, this they look like they are going live, but they are basically live to tape. They are not exactly live. There is some kind of a delay which is happening between the recording of the show or the shooting and the time it gets on here. So these are called live to tape shows. Even in news bulletins, there are certain segments which are pre-recorded, and then when the time of the news bulletin comes in, they just play those parts. So the breaking news would still be there. Some parts would be totally live, and some segments within that news bulletins would have been pre-recorded, and they would be shown as they are going live, but they would be live to tape, or they would be as live. Now, why does that happen? There are different reasons for that. Not all the shows or all the programs that you see on television need to be shown live, because there might be some kind of a room for some kind of edits to be made. When it comes to current affairs shows or some other kinds of shows, what really happens is that sometimes you need to edit just more than what you have to show on screen in terms of graphics. These could be things that in a specific television show, there are different panelists who might be talking about an issue which could be sensitive in nature. And what if you need to, beep out a specific word or a sentence that they have said? What if during coverage of an event, perhaps it's a political rally, there is some kind of violence happening, and you don't want to see that violence on screen. So for that reason, instead of going live, you would like to go prefer to go live to tape, and at least maintain a certain time delay, which could be in a matter of seconds, in which could be in a matter of minutes, so that you can edit out those parts which should not be shown on screen, right? So for those things, live to tape methods are used. To further clarify this concept of live to tape, let me tell you that the policy varies from country to country. I mean, if it's BBC, they might have all the news transmission going on live. But when we talk about Pakistan, for that matter, PEMRA has asked all the Pakistani television channels, all the news channels, to basically maintain some kind of a time delay in their transmission. So the news that you see on television, that is mostly going on with some kind of a time delay, and that time delay mechanism has been in place for quite a few years now. And the reason of that happening was also very interesting, because if you guys might remember, there was a time when the entire electronic media boom was there in Pakistan, and there were a lot of news channels, and there were a few accidents slash incidents where they were showing everything live. We had the PNS Mehran base attack. There was this accident. There was this air crash happened at the Margala Hills, and then a few other events, even the Lal Masjid event, and all other incidents like this, where our media was kind of showing unethical images live to the television viewers. They were not basically blurring the images of dead bodies. They were not showing the message that there is a parental control message, guidance message, which is shown on screen, and a lot of other things like this. So what happened at that time, that PEMRA, which is Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority, it's an authority which was established back in 2002, and one of its mandate is to to keep a check and balance on the kind of content which is shown on Pakistan's electronic media, as far as private channels are concerned. So all the private channels are follow the guidelines of PEMRA for that matter. So PEMRA has asked all the television channels to maintain some kind of a time delay mechanism while showing their news and current affairs shows. So generally that delay mechanism is between 7 to 10 seconds. So all channels have to maintain that 7 to 10 seconds ka delay in their transmission. And what really happens in that 7 to 10 seconds is the same thing which I was talking about earlier, that if it's a current affair show and the guest has perhaps scolded somebody, that has happened, or have said something which might be sensitive or which might be bad for the national security or things like this. So the channel would have that time to basically beep that word, or to make sure that the speaker is silent. At least it could appear like mute on television and all these things. Or maybe they can just cut that part out, because that can happen if you maintain that kind of time delay mechanism. But if it goes live, then I mean there is not a possibility for that. So technically what they ask channels to maintain a time delay of 7 to 10 seconds, but the current affair shows that you will see these days, they are mainly pre-recorded, not 7 to 10 seconds. It's pre-recorded like maybe half an hour before or an hour before, even like that. But really that depends on the kind of the channel and what is the policy of the channel. The only thing that they have to maintain is the 7 to 10 seconds time delay mechanism and go live to tape instead of going all live. But there are certain channels which just maintain this much 10 seconds ka delay, and then there are some channels which maintain even longer time delay. That really depends on the kind of the television channel that you are watching. This live to tape transmission or as live mechanism is mainly for news and current affairs channels. So it doesn't really apply to the entertainment channels because they don't have those kind of shows. In examples, I have mentioned current affairs shows. So most of the shows, current affairs shows that you see on television would maintain this time delay. So these are the second type of shows which are live to tape. Now the third type of shows are basically the recorded shows. Again, this makes most of the content that you will see on entertainment channels plus some of the content that you will see on the news and current affairs channels. Recorded shows are essentially recorded, something that has been pre-recorded and edited, and then it's being presented to you at a specific time, just like this video which I'm shooting right now, but I probably upload it a day later. So recorded shows are recorded in advance and they are edited to be presented on television. These are the shows in which there is a lot of room for improvement because you can add graphics, you can edit certain parts, you can omit certain parts, you can add something as far as your fictional shows are concerned, like dramas and series. They can even reshoot some of the stuff if they think that is that has not gone the way they wanted. So all the mistakes can be corrected before the show goes on air. So live recorded shows are the ones which are heavily edited, and of course they can be used in multiple settings. Perhaps the biggest example of recorded content on television are television dramas, advertisements, all these seasons that you see. All these are the shows that are recorded much in advance. So a series that you might be watching right now might have been recorded a year before, or at least 6 months before. And in that 6 months time, what they would be doing, that they would edit all the parts and they would make sure that it fits to the narrative and all the graphical elements are added. So recorded shows would include all these television shows, television dramas, documentaries, advertisements, and some of the current affair shows as well that we see on daily basis. It's not that the shows which are about current affairs and news cannot be recorded. There could be certain parts within the news bulletin as well, or there could be certain current affair shows which could be recorded as well. Like they could be pre-recorded days in advance. Now this could be, for example, these days during a news bulletin, they would show you a report where they would take interview of a doctor about the existing situation of COVID-19 in Pakistan. So that report is essentially recorded in advance. So the person have gone out and recorded that report in the morning or in the afternoon, and it will go on air in the 9 p.m. bulletin. So within the news itself, there could be different segments like news reports, which could be recorded. Or when we talk about current affair shows, there are certain kinds of current affair shows which could also be pre-recorded. Like if you have ever seen those shows where an anchor person goes to different public places and they ask general public about their opinion. These are basically vox pop style shows. Vox pop is a specific terminology which is used to which basically means voice of the people, and these shows are meant to transmit or to communicate the opinion of general public to the higher ups or to the government. So if petrol prices have been revised and if there is a hike in petrol prices, so you would see a show like Awam Ki Awaaz, and they would go to Liberty Market and just pick random people and they would tell the anchor person about its hazards or its effects on their daily life. Now this show might be recorded on Monday and then it might be edited on Tuesday and it will go on air on Wednesday. So there are shows like this on news channels, on current affairs programs where everything would be recorded. So it really depends on the kind of show that you are watching. But production wise, these are the three formats: live, something which goes on air as and when it happens. There is minimum editing. There is actually no editing. But say if you see certain kind of graphics on screen, so that is being, those overlays are being presented on screen through different techniques, and everything is kind of controlled from the production control room or the master control room. Then there are shows which are live to tape. They go as live. I mean, they appear live, but they are not exactly live. There is some kind of a time delay mechanism which goes in between the shooting and its airtime. So the time delay mechanism that is there for television shows in Pakistan right now, according to camera guidelines, is 7 to 10 seconds, but it could be more than that depending on the channel's own policy. And the third one is recorded shows. Again, these are the shows which are pre-recorded much in advance, and they include most of the fictional shows or the television series or dramas or advertisements and all other kind of content that you will see on television, which falls under the category of entertainment shows. So these are three different formats of production type. Now, going to the further two categories that we have to discuss. These are studio broadcast versus outdoor broadcast. So studio broadcast के ऊपर पहले बात करते हैं. Studio broadcast क्या होता है? Studio broadcast is when the entire filming of your production is done within the four walls of a television studio. Most of the television productions that you will see, which are current affairs or maybe news, they are mostly shot inside the four walls of the studio. Why is it important to have a studio? Because when you go out and shoot things outdoor, there are a lot of factors which you cannot control. And there might be some kind of noises involved. You cannot control the outside noises that are coming up. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control a lot of things. So it is only smart on the part of the producers to opt for studio productions most of the time. So the news and current affairs shows that you will see, they are essentially shot within four walls of the studio. Of course, they are purpose-built studio. The sound, lighting और बाकी चीजों का ख्याल रखा जाता है. पहले से ही pre-decided होता है. आपका set design already बना होता है, and all these things. So news के shows, जो news bulletins आप देखते हो, जहाँ पे दो newscasters बैठे हुए and they are telling you something, that would be studio. वो स्टूडियो में ही सारा जो है वो शूट हो रहा होता है. एंड इफ देयर इज अ पर्सन जो कि आपको स्पोर्ट्स की खबरें बताएगा, सो यू माइट सी दैट द सेट माइट चेंज बट इट इज स्टिल स्टूडियो. So in all television channels they have these purpose built studios जहाँ से सारी न्यूज जो है वो शूट होती है. Even the current affair shows that you will see they have their specific studios, वो भी स्टूडियो में शूट होती है. But it's not just your news and current affairs. A lot of time fictional shows can also be shot in studios, and that happens. Show about pre-partition would have to show the kind of structures which might not be available right now. So they cannot really go outdoors and shoot it. For that matter, they will create a studio or maybe a show about World War II. For that, they are going to create a kind of a studio where everything would be possible. And even all the animation series and animation movies that you will see, most of those are shot within studios. So studios are not just new studios, but there are film studios as well, or there are other studios where entertainment shows are also recorded for that matter. So if you go on any television and check their different studios, they would have certain studios where news are presented, news are shot, and then there would have been studios where current affairs shows are filmed, and then there are studios where their different talk shows, which falls into the category of entertainment or infotainment, they will be filmed. For example, morning shows के अपने अपने different sets होते हैं. Or if you see those shows like Jeeto Pakistan and all of that, they are also shot within a studio. So वो purpose built studios उन चीजों के लिए जो है वो build किए जाते हैं. Studios are important because you can take care of the sound, of the lighting and everything. It is easily to manipulate the settings of a studio because they are purpose built, and hence the production quality is much more better. But studios are not the only options all the time, because as far as news industry is concerned and entertainment industry is concerned, we need to show the outdoors, and it is very important to show the outdoors in most of the circumstances. So for that matter, the process is that you have to go outdoor and shoot it. So outdoor broadcast is a production technique for that. So this essentially refers to any kind of a recording or any kind of a broadcast, could be live or could be recorded, that involves shooting outside the four walls of the studio. That is known as the outdoor broadcasting or outdoor recording. So this outdoor broadcast or outdoor broadcasting is a very significant term in journalism, and we are going to explore it a bit more in the next slide. So OB refers to outdoor broadcasting or outside broadcasting. ये दोनों terminology जो है वो interchangeably use होती हैं. They essentially refers to the transmission of live events outside the studio. So events which are happening live and they needs to be communicated to the viewers of television or listeners of radio. So if a television or a radio station is arranging for its coverage, that would be called outside broadcasting or outdoor broadcasting. It is the electronic field production of television or radio programs, typically to cover news and sports television events, but not just news and sports events. There could be some other events as well, which might be covered via OB vans from a mobile remote broadcast television studio. Now that we have just talked about studio broadcast, I have told you that purpose built studios होते हैं जहाँ पे कंट्रोल हर चीज को किया जा सकता है, और जाहिर है उधर से आपको जो है वो लाइव ट्रांसमिशन भी दिखाई जा सकती है और रिकॉर्डेड भी. बट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट आउटडोर ब्रॉडकास्टिंग और आउटसाइड ब्रॉडकास्टिंग, दैट एसेंशियली मींस कि आप जो है फील्ड पे जाके रिपोर्टिंग कर रहे हो और वहीं से जो है विजुअल्स और साउंड जो है वो डायरेक्टली ऑडियंस तक पहुंच रहे हैं. हाउ डज दैट हैपन? दैट हैपेंस विद द हेल्प ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी. उसमें टेक्नोलॉजी यूज होती है और मूविंग और मोबाइल जो है वो ब्रॉडकास्ट स्टूडियो जो है वो यूज होते हैं, जिनको हम ओबी वैन्स भी कहते हैं. So how OB can be done or outdoor broadcasting can be done? These are facilitated through OB vans. OB vans या DSNG vans, शायद ये दो टर्मिनोलॉजीज आपने कभी सुनी हो, और अगर कभी ना सुनी हो तो आई एम क्वाइट श्योर आपने एटलीस्ट ये वैन्स देखी जरूर होगी कभी शहर में चलते फिरते मुख्तलिफ जगहों पे. सो दीज आर द वैन जिनके ऊपर एक डिश एंटीना लगा होता है और वो डिफरेंट चैनल्स की वैन्स होती हैं. सो बेसिकली दे आर कॉल्ड आउटडोर ब्रॉडकास्टिंग वैन्स, और इसमें इस तरह की टेक्नोलॉजी मौजूद होती है जिसके थ्रू जो भी विजुअल्स और जो भी साउंड जो है वो आपका कैमरा पर्सन जो है वो किसी मौके पे कलेक्ट कर रहा है, वो डायरेक्टली जो है वो ऑन एयर जा सकते हैं टू द टेलीविजन सेट्स वेयर वी आर वाचिंग इट। सो ओबी वैन्स थोड़ी एक पुरानी टर्मिनोलॉजीज है, जो उनका लेटेस्ट वर्जन है उनको डीएसएनजी वैन्स कहा जाता है। डीएसएनजी स्टैंड्स फॉर डिजिटल सैटेलाइट न्यूज गैदरिंग एंड दे आर बेसिकली पोर्टेबल स्टूडियोज। They just work like studios, but they are mobile and they are portable. And what they do basically that इसमें जो भी visuals catch हो रहे होते हैं वो satellite पे जाते हैं, satellite से they come back to the television studio where they have all their equipment and it then goes on the television screens. तो उस सारे प्रोसेस में जो 1-2 सेकंड्स का डिले होता है वो जरूर होता है, बट यू आर एसेंशियली सीइंग एवरीथिंग एज एंड व्हेन इट इज हैपनिंग. सो फॉर लाइव इवेंट्स ओबी वैन्स आर जनरली यूज्ड. आई हैव pasted this picture of an OB van. I'm quite sure आप लोगों ने भी देखी होगी. इनको DSNG vans कहा जाता है जनरली. So तमाम चैनल्स के पास ये vans होती हैं जिसपे जिसकी मदद से दे शूट at different locations और वहाँ से वो लाइव कवरेज कर सकते हैं. These vans consist of equipment that can send data to the satellite. So data जो है वो satellite पे जा रहा है. Again मैंने आपको शायद live session में बताया था कि data would include visuals and sound both. And the reporter or cameraman shoot events as they happen, and the OB van relays these images by means of wireless transmission to the satellite, which then relays them to the news organization. तो सैटेलाइट पे जाता है, उधर से न्यूज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जाता है और उधर से आपकी स्क्रीन पर आ रहा होता है. सो व्हेन यू आर सीइंग a live transmission or a live relay of a protest at the Liberty roundabout और उसके नीचे आपको जो टिकट्स वगैरह चलते दिख रहे होते हैं, उसकी वजह ये होती है कि वो पार्ट तो लाइव जा रहा है लेकिन वो टिकट्स कहाँ पे ऐड हो रहे हैं, वो न्यूज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में ऐड हो रहे हैं. सो 1-2 सेकंड्स का डिले उस चक्कर में आ जाता है, बट अदरवाइज इट इज एसेंशियली लाइव. Now this is how a studio would look like. Not exactly how a studio would look like. Studio तो आप लोगों ने usually देखे होंगे जो आप न्यूज बुलेटिन्स में देखते हो, बट अब स्टूडियो में of course you would have your major participants participating in a show. अगर मॉर्निंग शो है तो लाइव ऑडियंस भी थोड़ी सी बैठी होगी, आपका होस्ट भी होगा. अगर करंट अफेयर का शो है तो 2-3 पैनलिस्ट होंगे और आपका जो है एक एंकर पर्सन होगा. अगर न्यूज बुलेटिन है तो आपके 2 न्यूज कास्टर्स होंगे. वो उनका एक प्रॉपर सिस्टम होता है, वो उधर बैठ के जो है वो न्यूज पढ़ रहे होते हैं, सामने कैमरास लगे होते हैं. बट बिहाइंड द सीन्स क्या हो रहा होता है, सारी मिक्सिंग एंड मैचिंग कहाँ हो रही होती है. सो दिस पिक्चर काइंड ऑफ पोर्ट्रेज दैट एरिया. PCR or production control rooms are located in all the major studios. बट हर एक में जो है वो डिफरेंट तरह के जो है वो PCRs होते हैं. अभी जो मैंने पिक्चर पेस्ट की हुई है दैट इज ऑफ एन हाई एंड PCR, बट जनरली जो हमारे थोड़े छोटे टेलीविजन होते हैं उनके पास इतनी अच्छी फैसिलिटीज नहीं होती है. बट नॉनदलेस if I have to give an example of how it really looks like, if you have ever been to a cinema, तो आप अक्सर देखते होंगे कि सबसे लास्ट रोज के पीछे जो है ऊपर करके एक प्रोजेक्शन रूम बना होता है जहाँ से पिक्चर जो है मूवी जो है वो प्रोजेक्ट हो रही होती है. सो ये जो PCR रूम्स है, इफ यू गो टू PTV और सम अदर टेलीविजन चैनल्स, प्राइवेट टेलीविजन चैनल्स के स्टूडियोज, so you will see exactly these kind of PCRs थोड़ा सा ओवरलुकिंग होते हैं, थोड़ा सा ऊपर करके एक रूम बना होता है which is separated by glass windows, जहाँ पे producers and his or her entire team sit, and what they do from there that they manage all the production. So PCR would be normally situated overlooking the studio, and it is generally separated by a glass window. It is at this very place where they would receive feed from all the different cameras, and they would mix and match the footages, and then they would prepare the final output which would to be broadcasted to our television sets. So if you check this picture only, you will see that there are people sitting here on panels. So for example, if these are producers, and here you can see these are different panels. This is the place from where they are basically going to mix and match everything. Audio mixers or video mixers होते हैं. These screens basically are the output screens जहाँ पे different आपका जो कैमरास प्लेस होते हैं उनकी फुटेज आ रही होती है. सो इफ इट्स अ मल्टी कैमरा शो जिसमें 4 कैमरास इन्वॉल्व है, सो दे वुड हैव स्क्रीन जहाँ पे चारों कैमरास की अलग अलग जो है वो फुटेज आ रही होगी. एंड देन दे वुड डिसाइड अपॉन कि अब कौन से कैमरा पे मूव करना है अपनी फाइनल आउटपुट पे. सो इनमें से एक स्क्रीन पे फाइनल आउटपुट भी आ रही होती है जो कि आपकी स्क्रीन पे वो चीज किस तरह दिखाई जाएगी. और जरूरी नहीं है कि सारा कुछ जो आप लोग देख रहे हो किसी भी शो में वो सिर्फ कैमरास पे ही रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है. ये भी तो पॉसिबिलिटी हो सकती है कि कोई आर्काइवल फुटेज उस पर चलानी हो, कोई न्यूज रिपोर्ट पहले से ही मौजूद हो जो चलानी हो शो के दौरान. Like in a show by Hamid Mir, they would say that Imran Khan keeps taking U-turns, and perhaps there would be two people from the opposition and one person from the ruling government जो कि इसके बारे में बात कर रहा होगा. And then that person would say कि नहीं जी आप गलत कह रहे हैं, ऐसा नहीं है, इमरान खान ने कभी U-turn नहीं लिया. And then Hamid Mir would stop that person at that very point and he would say कि आपको अभी हम दिखाते हैं एक न्यूज रिपोर्ट में. अक्सर आपने देखा होगा इस तरह होता है करंट अफेयर शोज में. So they would have some kind of an archival footage already ready होगा जो पीछे से उसको टॉक बैक पे उसका प्रोड्यूसर बताएगा कि नेक्स्ट हमने ये चलानी है. And then at this very room which is PCR, they are going to show that footage next. So वो archival footage भी उनके पास कहीं ना कहीं पड़ी हुई होगी. सिमिलरली जो आपको साथ में नीचे उनके नाम दिख रहे होते हैं, जो जो बंदा बोल रहा होता है या जो डिफरेंट टिकर्स दिख रहे होते हैं वो भी उस वक्त मिक्स हो रहे होते हैं, ऐड हो रहे होते हैं उस सारी ट्रांसमिशन में. सो पीसीआर इज द प्लेस जहाँ पे ये सारी हैपनिंग जो है वो साथ साथ हो रही होती है. Of course, we cannot physically go to any television channel right now and explore these studios. But what we can do is to do a virtual tour. And for that matter, if you can see in the slides, in this very slide in the notes part, there is a virtual tour of the broadcasting house of BBC. So you can click on this link and it has all their studios listed. उनका न्यूज स्टूडियो और उनके डिफरेंट they have multiple news studios. So आप किसी भी क्लिक करके देख सकते हो कि how does it look like. It's a virtual tour, so you would be able to identify कि okay this is the place जहाँ पे newscasters बैठते हैं, उसके बिल्कुल सामने cameras लगे हुए होंगे. Generally when you see that newscasters are looking at the camera and they are talking as if they know everything, तो ऐसा नहीं होता है. उनके पास वो नीचे टेलीप्रॉम्प्टर पे सारा टेक्स्ट लिखा हुआ आ रहा होता है जिधर से वो पढ़ रहे होते हैं, बट इट लुक्स लाइक एज इफ दे आर लुकिंग एट द स्क्रीन. सो वो आपको नजर आ जाएगा. इसके अलावा आपको उनके पीसीआर रूम्स भी का वर्चुअल टूर मिलेगा. सो प्लीज टू एक्सप्लोर दिस लिंक, इट्स वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. काफी हाई एंड है ये स्टूडियोज बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स बीबीसी के है, बट इट वुड गिव यू एन आइडिया ऑफ व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट, व्हाट इज द स्टूडियो एंड व्हाट इज द पीसीआर एंड जनरली जो कैमराज प्लेस होते हैं वो कहाँ प्लेस हुए होते हैं. बिकॉज आई विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट नेक्स्ट. मल्टी कैमरा प्रोडक्शन क्या होती है और सिंगल कैमरा प्रोडक्शन क्या होती है. सो डू चेक दिस लिंक, दिस वुड बी ऑफ ग्रेट हेल्प टू यू. सो अगेन what we have discussed in terms of the spaces used for shows, we have discussed studio. So there would be studio broadcast and then there would be outdoor broadcasts, and to enable outdoor broadcasts we have OB vans or DSNG vans, and to enable a studio broadcast we of course have PCRs or production controls. The next two formats that we are going to discuss are single camera productions and multiple camera productions. All the television shows that you see are either single camera productions or multi-camera productions. And this basically refers to the style of filming. So what we have talked about initially was how spaces are used and how time is used in productions. But apart from that, an important thing in filming is basically how you are going to film everything. That is what it is called principal photography, that whatever you are filming, whatever you are shooting, so to say, वो किस methods के through की जा सकती है. So उसके दो methods होते हैं या दो formats होते हैं. एक single camera होता है, एक multi camera होता है. इनकी जो definitions है वो डेफिनेटली शायद आप बगैर पढ़े भी सोच सकते हो कि सिंगल कैमरा वो होगा जिसमें सिर्फ एक कैमरा यूज होगा और मल्टी कैमरा वो होगा जिसमें एक से ज्यादा कैमरा यूज होंगे. बट इट्स नॉट दैट सिंपल टू बी ऑनेस्ट, बिकॉज देयर आर डिफरेंट थिंग्स व्हिच मेक एनी प्रोडक्शन सिंगल कैमरा और मल्टी कैमरा. सो लेट अस एक्सप्लोर व्हाट दे आर. Single camera is a mode of production where one camera operates at a time and the shots are done in a non-linear way. Single camera productions are not live and they include a lot of editing and takes. Sometimes there are 2 or 3 moving cameras to capture the footage. Now if you think कि सिंगल कैमरा में सिर्फ एक कैमरा होगा, तो यार ट्रेडिशनली दैट व्हाट द डेफिनेशन इज, और ट्रेडिशनली जो पहले जमाने की प्रोडक्शन होती थी उसमें सिंगल कैमरा मेंट के एक ही कैमरा यूज होगा. बट नाउअडेज the format would be called single camera if one camera is being used at a time, or maybe even if more than one camera is being used, but the production is being shot in a non-linear way. So you understand what a linear way is and what a non-linear way is. Of course, linear way would be that जो भी चीज जिस वक्त कही जा रही है वो उसी ऑर्डर से जो है आप तक पहुंचेगी. अगर आप कोई प्ले शूट कर रहे हो, कोई ड्रामा शूट कर रहे होगे, तो उसमें पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं होती कि सब कुछ लीनियर फॉर्मेट में शूट हो. आई मीन would be a silly example to give, but imagine a television play जहाँ पर आपने एक अपने प्रोटैगनिस्ट की स्टोरी दिखानी है from being a child to being a middle aged man. So आप उसके लिए जो है वो 40 साल तक वेट तो नहीं करोगे ना किसी का. So what you would be doing that there would be a person जो कि आप child artist के तौर पे कास्ट करोगे, and that person would enact those parts. And then at the same time in a television series there is a possibility that there is a scene between two actors, and उसमें जो है उस scene में instead of shooting it linear, आप किसी एक एक्टर के डायलॉग्स पहले रिकॉर्ड कर लोगे, और फिर जब दूसरा एक्टर आएगा तो आप उसके दोनों के इकट्ठे सीन्स रिकॉर्ड कर लोगे. एक्टर ए वुड गो back to his home or whatever, and then you would record actors B close-ups, because there are different shots जो के यूज होती है. So at times time commitments की वजह से, scheduling issues की वजह से कोई भी प्रोडक्शन जो है वो लीनियर वे में शूट नहीं हो पाती है, और उस चीज को जो है वो facilitate करता है single camera production. Indeed, since I have given you an example of a television play, most of the entertainment shows that you will see on television, they are single camera productions. That doesn't mean कि उस वक्त उस पूरे सेट पर या उस पूरी आउटडोर लोकेशन पे सिर्फ एक ही कैमरा होगा जो कि सारी की सारी फुटेज शूट करा होगा. हो सकता है एक से ज्यादा भी कैमरा हो, बट इफ इट इज बीइंग शॉट इन अ नॉन लीनियर वे, व्हिच मींस कि हैप्पैज़र्डली जो है वो आप शूट कर रहे हो और बाद में एडिटिंग टेबल पे आके सब कुछ असेंबल कर रहे हो, so that would be called a single camera production. So again, mode of production where one camera operates at a time and the shoot are done in a non-linear way. Single camera production are not live, so generally वो live नहीं हो सकती है because आपने उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा editing involve होती है, and at times there might be two cameras or some free moving camera जो कि footage को capture कर रहा हो. So most of the series that you see on television, not all of them, but most of them, they are single camera productions. TV dramas are single camera productions. And again, single camera doesn't mean कि एक ही camera होगा. It means that the format is single camera. Now, if we look at the other format, which is multiple camera, that essentially means a format जहाँ पे multiple cameras use हो रहे होते हैं और जितने भी actions होते हैं वो simultaneously record हो रहे होते हैं. Which means कि आपके जितने भी न्यूज और करंट अफेयर शोज हैं वो मल्टी कैमरा प्रोडक्शन ही हो सकते हैं, वो सिंगल कैमरा नहीं हो सकते हैं बाय देयर वेरी नेचर, बिकॉज उसमें एक पॉइंट से दूसरे पॉइंट पे आपने जाना है, एक डिस्कशन हो रही है जिसको फॉलो करना है. Now the multi-camera productions are essentially the productions which use multiple cameras. एक वक्त में दो, तीन या उससे ज्यादा कैमरा जो है वो फुटेज कैप्चर कर रहे होते हैं and they are recording all the action simultaneously. This is a technique from where you can film from lots of different angles at the same time, and you really don't have to move the cameras. It's not that you cannot move them at all. If you want, you can definitely move the cameras, but there is no need for it because these are the kind of shows that might be happening within the four walls of the studio, and the cameras are already placed at different angles, which are set angles. So एक ही सबका action आप different angles से जो है वो shoot कर रहे हैं. In television, we have also seen teledramas or series जो कि multi camera production होती है. Specifically in the US जो उनके sitcoms होते हैं generally वो multi camera productions होते हैं. Not all of them, but some of the shows जो कि past में बड़े famous भी रहे हुए हैं, जैसे Friends भी जो था उसके काफी episodes multi camera थे. I think just 2 years back Big Bang Theory and White had like a lot of seasons, and that specific series, the Big Bang Theory, is the longest running multi-camera production in the history of the world. So that was a sitcom और वो multi-camera production था, studio में shoot होता था सब कुछ और different cameras होते थे, so actors used to come rehearse, prepare their lines and everything. और वो लाइव ऑडियंस के सामने शूट करते थे सारा का सारा प्ले, और वो सारा डिफरेंट कैप्चर्स डिफरेंट कैमरा जो है कैप्चर कर रहे होते थे. ऑफ कोर्स इट डिडंट यूज टू बी लाइव, वो रिकॉर्ड करके और बाद में एडिट करके ही टेलीविजन पे आता था, बट इट यूज टू बी मल्टी कैमरा शो एंड इट यूज टू बी अ शो जिसमें लाइव ऑडियंस को देख भी रही होती थी सारी की सारी रिकॉर्डिंग जब होती थी. सो देयर इज नो हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल के जितने भी टेलीविजन शोज हैं, अगर वो ड्रामाज हैं तो वो जो है वो सिंगल कैमरा ही होंगे. दे कुड आल्सो बी मल्टी कैमरा शो. पाकिस्तान में जहां तक एंटरटेनमेंट शोज की बात है उसमें आई डोंट थिंक सो कि आर ड्रामाज आर जनरली मल्टी कैमरास until unless कि कोई स्टूडियो के अंदर कोई ड्रामे शूट हो रहे हो, which I don't see because हमारे यहाँ इतनी usually high mounted जो है वो प्रोडक्शन हो नहीं रही है currently, but some of the talk shows that happens they are multi camera productions, like जो आपके मॉर्निंग शोज आते हैं वो स्टूडियो में होते हैं, मल्टी कैमरास होती हैं. मजाक रात या इस तरह के व्हाट इज दैट अजीजी वाला शो, ये सारे मल्टी कैमरा प्रोडक्शन, ठीक है. सो इनमें लाइव ऑडियंस भी मौजूद होती है, डिफरेंट कैमरास भी प्लेस हुए होते हैं. दे आर रिकॉर्डेड, दे आर नॉट लाइव, बट ऑफ कोर्स दे आर मल्टी कैमरा बिकॉज डिफरेंट कैमरा शूट हो रहे होते हैं. और जो न्यूज बुलेटिन है और जो आपका जो भी करंट अफेयर शोज आ रहे हैं वो तो डेफिनेटली सारे के सारे मल्टी कैमरा होते हैं. सो स्टूडियो में आई मीन दिस इज नॉट अ जेनेरिक रूल, बट जनरली जितना भी काम स्टूडियो में हो रहा होगा वो मल्टी कैमरा ही होगा, और जितना काम जो है वो आपका स्टूडियो से बाहर हो रहा होता है जनरली वो सिंगल कैमरा होता है, क्योंकि उसमें बहुत ज्यादा कैमरास और बहुत ज्यादा इक्विपमेंट की गुंजाइश नहीं होती. बट अगेन दिस वुड बी अदरवाइज एज वेल. ये मैं पाकिस्तान के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बात कर रही हूँ. गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स वाज अ सिंगल कैमरा प्रोडक्शन. दैट डजंट मीन कि हर वक्त एक ही कैमरा मौजूद होता था सेट पे. दे यूज्ड टू यूज डिफरेंट ऑप्शंस, डिफरेंट कैमरास एंगल्स, बट वो नॉन लीनियर फॉर्मेट में शूट हुआ था. सो डेफिनेटली वो सिंगल कैमरा प्रोडक्शन थी और वो आउटडोर्स में शूट होती थी. So that really depends on the kind of production. That is why I told you at the very beginning के numbers पे मत जाना कि single camera would mean only one camera and multi camera would mean lots of cameras. This basically refers to the production technique. These are a few details about single camera and multi camera production. So I'll just go through them quickly to further clarify it. Lighting on a single camera production is much easier to control because each shot can be lighted differently, so it captures the mood of the scene. So again, if I give you an example of a television drama, तो हर सीन के लिए जो है वो लाइटिंग डिफर करनी पड़ती है. तो अगर वो स्टूडियो में भी शूट हो रहा है ड्रामा, तो आपके पास सिंगल कैमरा में इतना टाइम होता है और इतना रूम होता है कि आप हर शॉट के हिसाब से लाइटिंग जो है वो चेंज कर सको, बिकॉज लाइटिंग ऑल्सो रिफ्लेक्ट्स ऑन द काइंड ऑफ अ सीन विच इज बीइंग यूज्ड. अगर कोई मिस्ट्री या कोई हॉरर किस्म का शो है तो उसमें आप जनरली देखो कि बहुत ज्यादा डल लाइटिंग यूज होती है, बहुत डार्कनेस शो कराई जाती है. बट उसी हॉरर शो में अगर किसी नेक्स्ट सीन में आप एक नॉर्मल हाउस होल्ड दिखा रहे हो और उसमें कोई एटलीस्ट हॉरर किस्म की चीज नहीं होनी है, सो दे वुड हैव अ रूम टू change lighting for that specific shot. So these are the things जो कि आपको स्टोरी टेलिंग में मदद करती हैं, और इसलिए सिंगल कैमरा ज्यादा एप्ट मेथड है to shoot such kind of plays. Then non-linear means that single camera productions are not necessarily shot in a sequential manner. I have already talked about it कि अगर आप एक scene कर रहे हो, so generally what happens, what we see on in a specific drama, एक scene चल रहा है, उस सीन में आपको डिफरेंट शॉट्स देखते हैं. दैट इज हाउ अ ब्रेकआउट इज डन. ठीक है, एक सीन है उसमें डिफरेंट सीक्वेंसेस है एंड देन डिफरेंट शॉट्स हैं. आई एम नॉट गोइंग इन द डिटेल ऑफ प्रोडक्शन बट जस्ट टू क्लैरिफाई टू यू. फॉर एग्जांपल एक सीन है कि दरवाजा खुला और अंदर कमरे में एक बंदा आया और एक दूसरा बंदा मौजूद है और उसने आके उससे प्रॉब्ली लड़ाई करनी शुरू कर दी या कुछ भी कोई डायलॉग बोला, ठीक है ना, और वो पूरा जो डायलॉग है वो पूरा सीन उस डायलॉग के ऊपर ही रहेगा. सो वो जब डायलॉग खत्म हो जाएगा तो वी विल मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट सीन. सो सीन्स की आई एम श्योर आपको अंडरस्टैंडिंग है. नाउ इस बार पूरे सीन में जो है ऑफ कोर्स डिफरेंट शॉट्स भी होंगे. दरवाजा खुलने का एक शॉट होगा, उसको अंदर आते हुए दिखाना एक शॉट होगा, अगर उसके आने पे सामने वाले का कोई हैरान किस्म का रिएक्शन आया है तो उसका एक शॉट होगा. यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट. देन when they would be talking to each other तो उनके different over the shoulder shots दिखाए जाएंगे, किसी का close up दिखाया जाएगा, एक पूरा shot mid shot होगा जिसमें दोनों को बातें करता हुआ दिखाया जाएगा. So these are different shots जिसमें पूरे scene को divide किया गया. That is what is called the composition of a scene. So single camera में हमारे पास ये option होता है कि हम इसको non linear format में जो है वो shoot कर सकते हैं. So understand that जो एक्टर ने दरवाजा खोल के आना है वो लेट है उस दिन शूट पे, बट जो एक्टर बी है वो पहले आ गया हुआ है, और उसका जो सीक्वेंस है जहाँ पे उसने कोई हैरानकुन एक्सप्रेशन देना है या उसका जो क्लोजअप आना है जिसमें उस दूसरा बंदा इंक्लूड नहीं होना, वो एक्टर पहले रिकॉर्ड करवा लेगा, बिकॉज इट डजंट मैटर, बाद में एडिटिंग टेबल पे सब कुछ मर्ज हो जाएगा। देन व्हेन द फर्स्ट एक्टर वुड कम इन, वो उसके सारे सीक्वेंसेस शूट करके और फिर जो है ओवरऑल उनके आपस के डायलॉग जो है वो शूट कर लेंगे, तो वो सीक्वेंशियल मैनर में नहीं होगा। इफ अ सीन कट्स बैक एंड फोर्थ बिटवीन एक्टर A and B, the director will first point the camera towards A and shoot the sequence शॉट नंबर से 1357, और फिर वो जो है बी को जो है वो उसके सीन्स फिल्म कर लेगा, उसके शॉर्ट फिल्म कर लेगा जो कि शॉट नंबर 2468 होगा। सो दिस इज जस्ट एन एग्जांपल व्हिच आई हैव गिवन यू, बट जरूरी नहीं होता कि जस्ट फॉर योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग जरूरी नहीं होता कि सब कुछ सीक्वेंशियल मैनर में शूट हो, एंड व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ रिक्वायरमेंट लाइक दिस, so single camera productions come in handy. Later in the post production editing process, what they will do, they will just combine all the shots in that sequential manner जिस तरह स्क्रिप्ट में लिखा हुआ था, and eventually वो आप तक उस तरह एडिट होके पहुंच जाएंगे, and you won't even realize कि किस तरह हुआ था। So even all these plays that you will see, हो सकता है उसका क्लाइमेक्स पहले शूट हो गया हो और जो फर्स्ट सीन है वो बाद में शूट हुआ हो, so वो कुछ भी सीक्वेंशियल मैनर में नहीं होता in a single camera production. In a single camera production, the script is broken down into individual scenes and shots. Each shot might be filmed from a number of different angles. I have already talked about it कि composition किस तरह होती है different shots में, किसी भी scene को जो है वो break down किया जाता है, और हर जो scene है उसको different angle से भी shoot करने का आपके पास option होता है। So master shot हो सकता है जिसमें आपको पूरा room नजर आ रहा हो, medium shot हो सकता है जिसमें सिर्फ waist length तक आपको actors नजर आ रहे हो बात करते हुए, फिर किसी एक्टर का क्लोजअप नजर आ सकता है। इसके अलावा बी रोल्स और कटअवेज भी होते हैं। सो बी रोल्स इज समथिंग दैट अपार्ट फ्रॉम द डायलॉग्स, इफ दे आर गोइंग टू शो यू समथिंग एल्स, ठीक है। सो दोज वुड बी कॉल्ड बी रोल्स। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू आर शोइंग कि जब एक्टर 1 कमरे के अंदर आया था तो एक्टर बी जो है वो उस वक्त जो है वो एक बुक पढ़ रहा था, तो उस बुक के टाइटल को प्रोबेबली दे वुड यू नो उसका क्लोजअप सा शूट कर सकते हैं। सो दैट वुड बी कॉल्ड बी रोल, क्योंकि वो एक एम्बियंस क्रिएट कर रहा है समहाउ अदर के जो दूसरा बंदा है इस वक्त एक बुक पढ़ रहा है। सो बी रोल्स भी शूट होते हैं इन अ सिंगल कैमरा प्रोडक्शन। 10 scenes are scheduled to be filmed according to production efficiency, not exactly story progression. I have already talked about it कि जिस तरह से वो बच्चा बड़ा हो रहा है उस तरह से आपने शूट नहीं करना है। हो सकता है आप बाद के सीन्स पहले शूट कर लो और शुरू के सीन्स बाद में शूट करो। Story progression doesn't matter when it comes to single camera production. Also, they give director more control over each shot, but it is a time-consuming format. ये time-consuming format है। Single camera productions are not apt for करंट अफेयर शोज, दे आर नॉट एप्ट फॉर न्यूज, बिकॉज वो तो आपने एज लाइव दिखाना है या लाइव दिखाना है। तो इसलिए जो है ज्यादातर जो फिक्शनल शोज होते हैं जैसे कि ड्रामा सीरीज होती हैं, एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स होती हैं या आपकी जो म्यूजिक वीडियोज होती हैं वो सिंगल कैमरा फॉर्मेट पे शूट की जाती है। सो दिस वाज द डिटेल्स अबाउट द सिंगल कैमरा। And again on the slides I have mentioned that you have to keep in mind that the production using the single camera setup doesn't really mean that there would be only one camera. In some cases there could be more than one cameras also, but the technique would be called single camera production if they are using if they are shooting in a non-linear. Next we are checking some details about the multi-camera productions. So as I have already talked about it, multi-camera productions basically consist of multiple cameras which are arranged to capture all the camera shots. This is the most widely used format in non-fiction shows. तो जितने भी आपके न्यूज और करंट अफेयर्स होंगे वो ज्यादातर मल्टी कैमरा प्रोडक्शंस होंगे। मल्टी कैमरा प्रोडक्शंस आर more suitable for shoots जो कि inside a studio होंगे। So स्टूडियो ब्रॉडकास्टिंग के लिए ये ज्यादा एप्ट तरीका है, but there is no hard and fast rule to be honest. Generally it is easier to have 3 or more cameras focused on an action which is taking place inside the four walls of the studio, but if deemed necessary या प्रोडक्शन के पास जो है वो बहुत ज्यादा रिसोर्सेज है और बहुत बड़ा बजट है तो हो सकता है कि वो आउटडोर में भी मल्टी कैमरा सेटअप यूज कर सकें। In the multi-camera setup, each camera operators work from a list of camera position and framing requirements for a full scene. Together, the camera covers all required camera angles. So generally, हर कैमरा पर्सन के पास उसको पता होता है कि उसने कौन कौन से शॉट्स लेनी है। इफ इट्स अ करंट अफेयर शो, आई कैन अगेन रेफर बैक टू दैट एग्जांपल ऑफ हामिद मीर शो। तो हामिद मीर के शो में आप देखते होंगे कि आपका जो कैमरा या जो आप स्क्रीन पे देख रहे होते हैं वो मूव कर रहा होता है जनरली, वो हमें मेरे को दिखाएंगे, बीच में उसको कोई कट ऑफ करके आंसर देना शुरू करेगा तो उस वाले पॉलिटिशियंस को दिखाएंगे, देन दैट अदर पॉलिटिशियन वुड कट ऑफ दैट पर्सन, तो फॉरन कैमरा उस पर मूव हो जाएगा। सो डेफिनेटली वो एक ही कैमरा तो मूव नहीं होगा, वो उस वक्त ये नहीं कह सकते कि जी फैसल वाडवा साहब आप 1 मिनट 2 मिनट चुप हो जाए, अपना कैमरा मूव कर रहे हैं। देयर वुड बी डिफरेंट कैमरा जो कि उन डिफरेंट पैनलिस्ट को फोकस कर रहे होंगे, और उन्होंने अपनी अपनी उनके पास ऑलरेडी शॉर्ट लिस्ट होती है कि उन्होंने कौन सा शॉट लेना है। न्यूज प्रोडक्शन में ऑनेस्टली इट्स वेरी इजियर बिकॉज वही लगी बंदी किस्म की शॉर्ट लिस्ट होती है उनके पास जिसको वो लोग यूज कर रहे होते हैं। सो जैसे ही जो दूसरा बंदा बोलना शुरू होगा, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी वो कैमरा पे कैप्चर हो रहा है, पीसीआर में उन्होंने शिफ्ट कर देना है आउटपुट उस बंदे की तरफ जो कि अब बात कर रहा होगा। सो इट बिकम्स वेरी नेचुरल, आपको पता नहीं चल रहा होता कि कितनी इजीली ये ट्रांजिशन हो रही होती है। इसकी वजह ये होती है कि सबके ऊपर कोई ना कोई कैमरा फोकस उस वक्त कर रहा होता है। एट द सेम टाइम मल्टीपल कैमरा प्रोडक्शंस में ये भी हो सकता है कि कैमरा मूव कर रहे हो, और इफ यू सी दीज शोज द गेम शोज लाइक जीतो पाकिस्तान, तो उसमें यू सी दैट फहद मुस्तफा यूजुअली मूव कर रहा होता है थ्रू आउट सेट, तो वो शूट हो रहा होता है और उसमें डिफरेंट कैमरा जो है वो उसको एट द सेम टाइम जो है वो मुख्तलिफ एंगल से कभी ऑडियंस को, कभी उसको, कभी जहाँ पे उनके प्राइसेस रखे होते हैं उन जगहों को शूट कर रहे होते हैं, एंड दे आर आल्सो मूविंग। Using TalkBack to communicate with the camera crew, the producer or the director asks for camera adjustment during filming of a specific scene and indicates which camera to use at each moment. The final output of what you see on screen is decided by the producer and the director. So ये सारी चीजें of course production की ज़्यादा हम nitty-gritty चीज में अभी नहीं जा रहे हैं, but I have told you about part जहाँ पे PCR में जो है वो जो प्रोड्यूसर है वो सारे एंकर पर्सन को और सारे कैमरामैन को जो है वो इंस्ट्रक्शंस दे रहा होता है। तो उसके लिए वो टॉकबैक मेथड यूज करते हैं, दैट इज लाइक अ डिवाइस जो कि वो यूज करते हैं, एंड दैट इज हाउ द एंटायर प्रोडक्शन इज डन। एग्जांपल्स मल्टी कैमरा की लाइव इवेंट्स होते हैं, आपके जितने भी स्पोर्ट्स मैच होते हैं वो मल्टीपल कैमरास होते हैं। आई मीन यू कैन जस्ट फाइंड दैट आउट इवन विदाउट गोइंग ऑन अ मैच, बिकॉज हर चीज जो है वो डिफरेंट एंगल से आपको नजर आ रही होती है। सो आपका एक मेन कैमरा होगा, देन यू वुड हैव सम कैमरा जो कि डिफरेंट प्लेयर्स के ऊपर फोकस कर रहे होंगे, यू वुड हैव सम ड्रोन कैमरा जो कि ओवरऑल ग्राउंड पर फोकस कर रहे होंगे। सो स्पोर्टिंग इवेंट्स मल्टी कैमरा होते हैं, करंट अफेयर टॉक शोज मल्टी कैमरा होते हैं, एंड सम टीवी ड्रामास व्हिच आर रियली माउंटेड ऑन अ हाई स्केल, सो वो भी मल्टी कैमरा प्रोडक्शन। So with that, we have come to the end of this part, which is common production formats. What we have discussed were 3 different categories of production formats. The first was live to tape and recorded. Then the second one was studio broadcast versus your OB or outdoor broadcast. And the third one was multi-camera production versus single camera production. So the formats basically are not mutually exclusive. If a show is going live, that show could also be multi-camera. For example, a sports match, ठीक है, वो लाइव भी जा रहा है और वो मल्टी कैमरा भी साथ साथ है और वो आउटडोर भी है, ठीक है, तो उसमें तीनों चीजें फिट हो रही है। If there is a television drama, so that is basically recorded and that is a single camera, और वो जो है वो स्टूडियो में भी शूट हो सकता है और वो आउटडोर भी हो सकता है, दैट डिपेंड। सो विद इन अ स्पेसिफिक कैटेगरी भी जरूरी नहीं है कि हर जो चीज लाइव है वो लाइव उसमें कुछ रिकॉर्डेड नहीं चल सकता, या जो स्टूडियो है उसमें कोई कुछ आउटडोर का नहीं आ सकता, ये भी हो सकता है। और ऑफ कोर्स कैटेगरी वाइज ऑल्सो भी दे आर नॉट रियली म्यूचुअली एक्सक्लूसिव। द आइडिया इज दैट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे जो उसकी आउटपुट है, जो प्रेजेंटेशन है या जो फाइनल प्रोडक्ट है, that should be very interesting for the viewers. So that is why all these different production techniques are used to make the production interesting. As far as the topic of the production is concerned, how we do these productions, that is something that we are not going to discuss in detail in this semester, because again we don't have those facilities right now जो कि आपको on campus मिलती है, but of course I'm going to share its basic idea with you, and that will be in a live session. So production process, which is a separate topic that will be discussed in the live session, and I'll probably post a part of its recording on YouTube as well. With that, we have come to the end of this specific topic, which was about common production techniques. And in the next live session, I'll be discussing the production process with you in brief. And if you have any questions, you can post them on Moodle, on Facebook group, on email. I'm quite sure by now you already know the drill. And of course, you can also ask your questions in one of the live sessions. So we are done with this. Please explore all the links which are there in the slides, the virtual tour of the studio, or different links which I have pasted in the notes section. So do check those links, because those would help you to understand all these terminologies in a more efficient manner. With that, this is the end of this video, and I'll now see you in one of the live sessions. Take care, everyone.